remote tropical island in the Caribbean, 100 miles from the northeastern coast of Cuba. This is one of many islands that lie in a warm tropical belt around the equator. With abundant rainfall and 12 hours of daylight 365 days of the year, this island has become engulfed by one of the most hostile environments on Earth. The jungle. Tropical rainforests such as these are host to some of the most unpredictably hostile terrains, unfriendly climates, and a plethora of deadly creatures and diseases. They occupy only 7% of the land on Earth, but they're home to over half of the world's species. This is the island of Guarma. Jungles may look the same, but each one has its own unique characteristics. Guarma is one of the largest jungle-covered islands, and over half of the species of animals and plants are found nowhere else on Earth. Its turbulent geological past has shaped this island into a dramatic landscape of mountains and valleys. This geological process has isolated many different species of animals. Some of them have become permanent residents. But these individuals have adapted to life on this island, and some of them are quite remarkable. This is a green iguana, nearly 2 meters long and weighing up to 14 kilos. It's a precarious size and weight for an animal that spends most of its life in the treetops, 30 meters above the ground. Their claws look as if they have evolved for ripping flesh, but they're not meat hooks. They're grappling irons. You might think that these animals are fearsome meat eaters, but they're strictly vegetarian. And to get this big, they eat their greens. And lots of them. This individual has left the relative safety of the trees and is now venturing out into the open. This is fraught with danger. It's now become extremely vulnerable to predators from the land and the air. This behaviour may seem careless, but there's a very good reason for it. It's a female, and she's looking for a suitable place to lay her eggs. And she's not alone. Over the next few weeks, hundreds of females will make their way from the jungle down to the shoreline. This bare sand with no shade or vegetation is why the females come here. There's nothing like this in the dense jungle, and they rely on the consistent sunshine to help incubate their eggs. Claws designed for gripping branches also make excellent rakes and shovels. The nervous females, once they lay their eggs, race back to the safety of the trees in the jungle. Their job is complete, until next year when they repeat the process once again. The jungle contains two separate worlds: the canopy and the forest floor. They have two completely different climates. Up high in the canopy there is much more sunshine, and there's also winds, something that is virtually unknown down in the depths of the forest. But the wind causes problems. It can rob a tree of its moisture from the surface of its leaves, so most of the trees in the canopy have small leaves. But the wind does bring a benefit. The seeds of these trees are as light as a feather, and the wind can distribute them across the landscape for many miles around. In the vast mosaic of green, many of the leaves are exactly angled to capture the maximum amount of light. They have a special joint in the base of their stalk that enables them to twist and turn to follow the sunlight as it swings overhead. In the rainforest, the trees and plant life are locked in eternal summer. So there is no reason for the annual shedding and renewal of leaves that are common in forests in the northern hemisphere that are subjected to seasonal changes. As a result, the canopy has become an isolated world in which many of its inhabitants will be born and die here without ever leaving it. Coming down from the airy sunlit branches of the canopy, you leave the breeze and dazzling sunshine and enter a different world. Here, the warm, still air is heavy with moisture. There's hardly a breath of wind, and the leaves above cut out most of the sunshine. Only 2% of the sunshine filters down to the forest floor. Down here, seedlings struggle to grow. But the gloom is not eternal. Eventually, a tree shall perish, and when it does, the sudden blaze of sunlight will bring life to the forest floor. Down on the dark, humid forest floor, the jungle appears to be lifeless. Often, the only signs of life are what you hear and not what you see. And for some animals in this environment, this could be fatal. This is a fer-de-lance snake, and it's one of the most venomous snakes on Earth. It contains enough venom in its body to kill a human being. It can grow up to 6 feet in length and moves almost in complete silence along the forest floor with remarkable speed. They have 2 hunting strategies which are very effective. One method is to find a hiding place in the leaf litter, of which it is excellently camouflaged. And it can wait with almost infinite patience for prey to come within striking distance. The second method is to go on the hunt, and they use their forked tongues to find the scent of potential prey. A snake's tongue is a superb direction-finding device. The snake can measure the strength of a smell separately on each of the 2 forks of its tongue. And if it wishes to follow up on a scent, then it simply detects the one which has the stronger smell and goes in that direction. Snakes have had a bad reputation for centuries, but in reality, even the most aggressive and venomous snakes will avoid biting a human being if it can. Why waste venom and precious energy by biting something that you're not going to eat? To prevent misunderstanding, most venomous snakes will warn other animals, including human beings, to keep out of their way. And this particular species does that with sound. It rattles the end of its tail to give a clear signal to stay clear. The threat of a bite is far better defense for the snake than the bite itself. The loss of limbs could seem to be a handicap and certainly makes the snakes seem alien creatures to us. But it is that very loss that has enabled snakes to colonize nearly every environment on the planet. And it is that absence of limbs too which has enabled them to do it with such elegance and grace. Surprisingly, it doesn't rain every day in a rainforest, but more still falls here than any other place on Earth. On average, over 2 meters a year. A single tree can absorb hundreds of tons of water each year. But the trees can't use all this water, so much of it returns to the air as vapour, forming mist and clouds. You can say that the rainforest creates its own weather. Half of the rainwater that falls in Guarma is produced by the clouds created by the trees themselves. Clouds gather over the forest until finally they burst. Rain is the lifeblood of every jungle, and all the tiny creatures such as insects and amphibians that inhabit this world do their best to endure the downpour. With so much rain, it's not surprising that this will have a dramatic effect on the landscape itself. This river is known as the Arroyo de la Víbora, which translated means Brook of the Viper. Its name is likely derived from its shape, which is serpent-like. Another possibility is that this river was inhabited by an abundance of snakes thousands of years ago when the river was first formed. Fresh water that fell as rain high up in the mountains of Guarma carved its way down the landscape until it eventually reached the shoreline and into the sea. If rainwater is the lifeblood of this rainforest, then this river is the artery that sustains life in the heart of the island. Animals of all different kinds come from miles around to take advantage of this fresh water supply. But there's a forest animal that comes here to collect an essential element that lies buried beneath the surface of the water. These river hogs are collecting a particular kind of clay that contains minerals which are scarce in their natural diet. With powerful muscles in their noses and formidable tusks, they can dig several inches down into the banks of the river to find exactly what it is that they're looking for. It may be mud, but there's nothing quite like it for enriching the blood. The clay also helps in absorbing the toxins that are found in much of the vegetation that they eat. Once satisfied, they will return to the jungle to forage on whatever edible opportunities come their way. Rainforests like this are the centres of biodiversity. The wilder and more diverse the forest is, the more effective they are at absorbing carbon from the atmosphere. For millennia, tropical rainforests have played a vital role in the upkeep of our planet's health. But this essential element is rapidly disappearing. The island of Guarma is becoming dominated by sugar fields. The sugarcane that is being produced on this island is growing at an alarming rate. If this continues, then the human beings that inhabit this island could consume the forest until there's nothing left. The animals that live here will be compacted into smaller and smaller spaces on the island and ultimately will be wiped out. Across the world, we are losing tropical rainforests at a rate of millions of hectares every year. And with it, the planet's treasure trove of diversity. Jungles are the lungs of our planet. They store and capture more carbon than any other habitat on land. They cool our planet and provide food and medicines. We lose them at our peril.